Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. Today, Rich and Rob, we are breaking down the fourth and fifth T20 international between the West Indies and England, and what was actually an exceptional series and gave us some serious respite after a difficult Ashes campaign down under. Rich, how are you feeling? Like every time we've kind of gone through this winter time, it's like Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. Winter has been here for England, and it's been pretty ropey. You know, the Night King came in, and we lost 4-0 in Australia. And every time I asked you how you're feeling, it was never good. We finished the West Indies tour. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, come on, not too bad. We're looking forward towards some more Test cricket, aren't we? There's lots of news going to be coming out there soon, you would hope, with England. There might be a few changes towards the Test setup. So I tend to see these things with optimism. The gales have been blowing. Maybe the winds have changed direction and all that nonsense we can read into it in England. This series was all right. It wasn't bad. It's good cricket. I think that's the thing. When it's good cricket, you can enjoy it. England have been okay. Way more questions than answers for me for this T20 setup at the moment. Don't know where it's all come from, but it suddenly seems the foundations aren't quite there. Yes, we've been without some key players, haven't we? But no one's really grabbed hold of things, have they? Well, maybe one or two players have, actually. Somebody that... one player that a few players people were writing off, let's say, he's done pretty well. But overall, I'm all right. I've got my coffee. I've had my porridge. It's nice and cold here in the morning as usual. Cricket's there to warm us up.
Oh, that's a nice way to finish it. Yeah, cricket's there to warm us up, and it definitely did some of that. So England came in 2-1 down to the West Indies, fought back triumphantly to make it 2 apiece in the fourth one day, mate. Some real good points around this, because we sat there and we was looking through Twitter, we're scrolling through, and there was a lot of, it's not hate, but there's a lot of, the time is up, the time is now. John Cena, Moeen Ali, you're going to be struggling for a place in this team, mate, with recent performances. Rich, he's put in 2 man of the match performances with his 63 off 28 balls here to go with his performance in the second T20, both of which England won and both in which he was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And not forgetting in his fourth T20 that we won, and he got man of the match, 2 for 28 as well. Fantastic bowling figures with the new ball, if you want to call it that. Look, we said at the time, after the third game, Moeen Ali was man of the match in the second game. I don't understand why people are calling for his head. I don't understand it. It just didn't make any sense. It's been really good to see him get that responsibility with the team, get the captaincy with Eoin Morgan. I suggested it might be an idea to rest Morgan. Look, I haven't got any control. I didn't do some like magic. I got a little voodoo doll of Eoin Morgan and didn't make his hamstring go snap or whatever it was. Moeen Ali, it's been a good opportunity, and he's stepped up and he's taken it like he generally always does. He played fantastically well. A 225 strike rate, 63 off 28 deliveries. That's going some, isn't it? He was striking the ball as clean as I've seen anybody. It just looked like he was playing golf almost. Was the ball actually on the ground before he hit it? Just sat still, because he was just hitting it so cleanly. It was unreal. So. Yeah, let's call the jets on the old Moeen Ali out of the T20 team. There's a few other people I think we can start looking at before we look at that lovely young man.
Yeah, no, he was superb, mate. 7 sixes in that innings as well, and only 1 4. So yeah, teeing off good and proper on the 18th. Moeen Ali, Jason Roy. He's been an interesting one this series. He keeps looking to try and get going, and looks ultimately very disappointed and angry when he gets out, almost like he's surprised to. But here, 52 off 42 balls, just what the doctor ordered from England's premier T20 opener, along with Jos Buttler.
Yeah. Do you know what I found really funny with Jason Roy is after he got one out of the screws, probably the first 6 he hit, I might be wrong, it might be the second or whatever. He hit 3 in this one and he's 52. He looked angry. It was almost like that look of about time.
Yeah.
Why haven't you gone off my back like this before? He just looked dead niggled after smashing one into the stand. So, it was on the roof, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the one that went on the roof, and he still didn't look happy. It was good to see him looking like his old self, though. Quite a fluid innings, not quite at the pace you'd expect of him. But we're arguing over minor things there, aren't we? We're splitting hairs there. So it is good to see him going again. It's going to be a process, isn't it? You've got to, these games come thick and fast. If you miss a couple of games, miss out on a couple of games with form, it's going to take a while, isn't it? So pleased to see him. But question marks after him, though, I think.
I think that's fair enough. James Vince, 34 off 26, Rich. Played some beautiful cover drives. You said there's more questions than answers, right? James Vince, are there more questions than answers, or do you have some answers to the questions?
I don't have any answers to the questions, and I'm not going to go full on because he finished this series well, didn't he? Relatively well. 34 in this one, and he got himself a half century in the fifth and final game. You see a player do that, you can't really be too critical of the guy. He's done all right. He's played all right. But I don't see it personally as a T20 nailed on. He's in my top 5 he batters in English cricket. If we're going to go somewhere, I just don't think somebody like him is going to be the way forward. I'm still very frustrated and confused and all those sort of emotions at why Phil Salt is so far down the order. He's not performed like he should be higher up the order.
Yeah.
Let's get that out of the way in the last 2 games, but that's not where he should be batting. I don't think Phil Salt's ever batted down there in T20 cricket. Certainly not in the last few years.
It's quite hard to perform. He got out on the 19th point third ball. So there's 4 balls left at the innings and he got out for a golden duck trying to smack it for 6. It's kind of like you're up the creek with no paddle, so you're just trying to hit your way out of it.
Did he shout charge? That's what I want to
know. Possibly.
Because if he should, with a bloke like that, who should be coming at the top of the order, if he comes in with 3 balls to go, 4 balls to go, he should be running down the track shouting charge as soon as he gets into bat. Club cricket. Why not? Yeah. So for me, people like Phil Salt, you've got Liam Livingstone, you've got others that can bat higher up the order. You've got obviously players like Butler and Bairstow, who are also pretty good at the top of the order, aren't they? Can we say Alex Hales? No, we can't say Alex Hales, can we? Sorry, Owen.
No. Even though he's just scored an 80 odd in the PSL and done well in the Big Bash, still he's not part of the conversation, Rich.
No, he's not. Good job, eh? Who would want a player that talented?
That's the thing, though, right? James Vince. We're talking about James Vince. Is he the right guy to bat 3 in this team? James Vince is an excellent T20 Blast player. He's an excellent Big Bash player.
Yes.
Is he the best number 3 in this England team? Probably not.
No, and that's the biggest point really for me and James Vince is I don't want him at 3. My ethos, my mentality, whatever you want to call it, my top 3 are all goers, and not in that sense of the word, Rob. But they're all proper goers.
Blue.
And exactly. I want to see him properly going at it in that top 3. This is going in a weird direction, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Akeal Hosein, I want to pick him out and signal him out because what a series this man has put together. It's every single time he takes the pitch, every single time he gets the ball in his hand, he's going and making things happen. 1 for 16, 1 for 15, 1 for 36, 1 for 23, 4 for 30 in the series, as well as that 44 not out of about 3 balls, mate. Talk about rising stock in the game. This guy's going through the roof.
Yeah, 8 wickets in the series, only beaten by one other man, and he's out bowled Adil Rashid, hasn't he, in the wickets column? 1 more than Adil Rashid, so let's put that in context. Good player, really good player. We didn't know a heck of a lot about him, did we, until we started watching qualifiers and World Cup, T20 World Cup recently. He impressed us straight away in that competition. And West Indies didn't have the best of times, did they? But he really did impress. There's not much more to say to him. The fact that he came in and smashed it around as well, it shows us the cricketer there. Just coming back onto James Vince, don't want to redirect it back to James Vince, but in this 4th game, Hosein did get the wicket of Vince, didn't it? And it was one of the softer dismissals I've seen. Really wide, really short, and he's just flicked it, hasn't he? He's tried to smack the lever off it. And again, I've used the term club cricket already, and it looked like a club cricket dismissal. Yeah. It looked like a bloke that comes in that can't really bat, borrowed someone's bat, borrowed someone's gloves. He's got his black socks on, and he's just come in and had a good swing at it. Just nearly swung himself off his feet, and he's just got nothing on it, and it's gone about 5 yards to the bloke at Slip Gully around that area. So I was really disappointed with that dismissal. But Hosein, you can't really say much more about him. I think he's had a fantastic series. He's a name to watch. He's another up-and-coming player, which is exactly what West Indies needed out of this series. A win, 3-2 series win, fantastic, but they needed to see that they had half a dozen players that they can start rebuilding with.
They definitely have, with the fitness issues going on with players like Hetmeyer out of the squad. They've put themselves in a pretty good position. I think India are the next team up for the West Indies, and they've gone with a very, very similar squad. They've already named it. That's how confident they are in the group of players that they've got going on. West Indies 194 to win, Rich, 159 for 5. Didn't they had a strong start, but it felt like control of the game for England was very, very good. We had a really good performance from Chris Jordan here, going at 7.5 economy rate. That's a rarity at the moment. Akeal Rashid, 1 for 28, going at sevens. Akeal Rashid bowls generally 4 overs in the middle of the innings from over 7 through to over 15 and goes at less than 8 economy rate every single time. Best spinner in world cricket, question mark.
I think that's for another day. I think we need to line them all up, get the stats out. But he's up there, isn't he? He's up there. And you know, we know how good he is in white ball. We know how good he is in T20 cricket. I mean, he is our main bowler, isn't he? Especially where there's so much confusion over the seamers. I don't think this is where I'm talking about there's more questions than answers. We don't have a seamer that's walked into this team and nailed down and given us any confidence going forward. Love Chris Jordan. I'd have him in the team because he can bat, he fields, he's just a great guy. But he keeps getting casted all over the park. Timor Mills hasn't really done what we wanted or expected him to do. Reece Topley's done okay. I think that's a player we can maybe be a bit more optimistic about. But then you've got, you know, Saki Mahmood. Others, they just haven't quite grabbed hold of it. Oh, yeah, it's a bit disappointing. But Akeal Rashid, really intrigued to hear as well. They're asking a question about red ball test match cricket, and he was a bit coy about it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that could be, if they can talk him round, if they can get him playing a bit of red ball cricket in the summer, because we can't have him playing test match cricket if he's not playing a bit of red ball somewhere. It's just the way it is. We can't set that precedent, and we can't have players coming in that cold. They've got to at least hold a red ball in in the middle of a cricket field rather than just a net before you go and play 5 days of test. So I'd love to see him come back in, because there isn't a clear answer at the moment, is there? Certainly not in this England setup. They don't seem willing to give opportunity to any of these other spinners. So if Akeal Rashid wants to play red ball, yes, get it.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's very strange to have the best spinner in the country, hands down, not playing test match cricket for you. It'll be interesting to see where that goes going forward. Moeen Ali, you mentioned him earlier, 2 for 28, mate. Superb during the power play. 12 dot balls, mate, from his. So he's bowled 2 overs worth of dot balls from his 4 overs. Reece Topley, who, talking of stock going up and down throughout the series, Reece Topley is probably a guy who's come in with his stock kind of here. And I feel like he's finishing the series a little bit up here. He's given consistent performances throughout the innings, throughout the games. He's been decent at the start of the innings, but towards the end of the innings, I actually think he's been pretty good in the death, which is a problem for English bowlers at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've spoke about Topley, haven't we, at length, really. And it's so good to see him back in the setup. He's got all the attributes, hasn't he? If it wasn't for injuries, and that's all we ever seem to talk about when it's really promising quick England bowlers. Doesn't matter if you're left arm, right arm, whatever. If you're a promising quick England bowler, you're going to break down at some point. That's just the look we've had. Timor Mills was one of the first, wasn't it?
Yes.
You know, we thought we had an incredible cricketer. He's going to be a test match player. Mate, there was that game against, they played almost within the squad, didn't he, England? And I just remember him peppering Graham Swan.
Yeah,
it just looked so exciting. And obviously, Jofra Archer, we're going through the issues with him at the moment with injuries, which is so disappointing from our perspective. God knows what it's like for Jofra at the moment. Topley's another one. So it's so good to see him. And if this is what we get from him, this is all we can get from him, I'm delighted. I'm really chuffed, because he's the one that has stepped up in this series, I think, and looks like he can be a mainstay of this bowling attack.
Yeah. How important do you feel Liam Livingstone is going to be to this England team, given it's a World Cup year? And I don't just mean from his batting and that he can be explosive and one of the longest hitters in the game, which is going to be great, because playing on some of those bigger grounds in Australia is going to be really critical. But the fact that he's a spinner, he can fill in with a couple of overs a la Glenn Maxwell. Like, you might get 1, you might get 2, you might get lucky, you might get a few wickets. But the fact that he can spin the ball consistently and with accuracy both ways to create danger against right and left-hander, how key is that going to be?
Oh, it's absolutely key. 100%, isn't it? He's not done well this series. I think he's scored a combined, is about 33 runs in the series.
Yeah.
So he's not had a good time of it, but he's quality. Again, question rather than answer. Where does this team want Liam Livingstone to perform? What position is he? Because he's sort of in and around that Owen Morgan slot, isn't he, again?
Yeah.
So, assuming Morgan's back in at some point over this, before, as we build to the World Cup, where do you want him to bat? there's decisions that have to be made, and I'd like to see people starting to be slotted into these positions. As well as Banton's done in this series, he showed that potential. Then he actually did put a great knock in the third game, but then he sort of dropped off a little bit towards the end again, hasn't he? Phil Salt's not had that opportunity at the top of the order. What do we want to do with him? He just seems like an afterthought. It's almost they talk highly of him in the camp, saying what a great character and all the rest of it is, but you've not given him an opportunity to perform in the position he should be performing in.
Yeah.
So what did you want from him? Tom Banton, he's done well, but this is an opportunity over 5 games to rotate players a little bit and give players opportunity. It's not the most important series in the world. It's the first series we have as we build towards the next World Cup. Now's the time to rotate. You've done it with the bowlers, so why couldn't we have done it with the batsmen? I'm just a bit confused with it.
Yeah, bowling is hard yak on the body. We both know that. But it is interesting when we talk rest and rotation. We never, given the amount of cricket in the schedule, the amount of pressured cricket that these guys have been playing, IPL, T20 World Cup, Ashes, all the rest of it. I know the Ashes guys aren't here. Why don't the batsmen get the same level of mental rest as the other guys? I sometimes find that quite hard to believe, why we just expect them to be different.
Yeah, and opportunity as well. Bowlers get opportunity. They're rotated in and out, Batsmen, it seems like when they get in a series, that's it. They get locked in. We had this over the summer. I think it might have been Garton. He was in one of the squads, wasn't he? Called up, and it was like, bowl him, play him. And I think we were 2-0 up in one of the series, whether it's Sri Lanka or was it Pakistan, Sri Lanka, wasn't it? Why not give him an opportunity? It was the third game. They chose not to play him. It baffles these decisions that they make. They just seem to get locked in on certain players in a series and don't give others an opportunity. Obviously, this time they have with the ball, but with the bat, they just seem to get stuck. And my biggest issue, like I say, is the Salt with Banton at the top.
Yeah.
Would it have been the worst thing in the world the last couple of games to have actually batted Salt opener and brought Banton down the order? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Just there's ways of just monkeying around with the lineup. Vince, would there have been an opportunity to bump Vince down one, bring Salt up maybe? I don't know. It doesn't feel like we've learned a lot from this series. I mean, West Indies, I think they're going away. They're really happy. It's not because of the result. It's because they found cricketers and they found cricketers to play roles in their team. They're delighted that the likes of Jason Holder has just come back and exploded back into scene, because he was a little bit out of favour around the World Cup time, wasn't he?
Yep, he was.
So the fact that he's come back in and done so well is incredible, and we'll get onto that in a sec, won't we, with his performance in the 5th and final game. But the players that they've nailed themselves down, England, it doesn't feel like they have.
It definitely doesn't, mate. When we come up to the 5th game, 2 apiece, all to play for, really meaningful cricket, but it's an international game, so it does mean something. We go with changes again. We bring in Saqib Mahmood. He opens the bowling with Reece Topley. Chris Jordan plays again. So we've had a whole plethora of different styles of bowling. We've had a couple of right armers and a left armer. We've had 3 left arm seamers in the same team. West Indies score 179 for 4, 8.95 and over. This had a feel to me, watching the West Indies bat, how they went about it, how they built a baseline to be able to go big towards the end. This had the feel like I was watching the T20 World Cup all over again, watching how Pakistan played. They built it on a good solid foundation because they know they had power towards the end. And with this, they changed the order around a little bit. Romario Shepherd came up the order. Rovman Powell came in at 6. And this is kind of your point around Phil Salt. And I don't want to bring it back to England because West Indies have executed it really, really well here. But they're utilising this time before the World Cup to try things out and see who can fulfil what role in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're giving players opportunity in different spots, aren't they? Romario Shepherd, he's coming in at 3. What's going on here? It didn't seem quite the most sensible thing in the world when you've got Paran, who's batted well in this series. You've got Powell, who failed in the 4th game. But obviously, he did the most incredible thing in the world in the 3rd game. Yeah. So it just seems odd. But again, Rovman Powell down at 6, he finished well, didn't he? And maybe they're thinking, actually, we want him early enough, but later in the order. So that's the role we're starting to identify for him. We've not really spoke about the skipper, Kieran Pollard, but he's had a pretty good series. He's been nibbling people out left, right, and centre, hasn't he? And he's been solid with the bat. He's looked a mature. He's captained with intelligence. He's done all the good things that you want as a captain. And he's carrying this younger team. He's lifting this younger team. And it's not just age young, is it? They're an inexperienced young, if you like, young in international cricket. So when we say young, we don't always mean they're just, 12-year-old kids running around. They're inexperienced as well at this level. So it's great to see him, almost the last of the old guard, isn't it? Maybe apart from Holder, last of the superstars.
Yeah.
The rest have been pretty much ditched, discarded, or fallen by the wayside. But it's really good to see that he's took this team through, and they'll be really pleased, I think, and rightly so.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm not going to say 110% that they've put in Rich, because we know that doesn't exist. But 100%, they've shown no quit, and they've shown real quality at times with ball. I've been really impressed with their bowling attack, actually, but also with bat in this sort of situation. And this capitalised on everything. England are a white ball dynasty at the moment, and they perform well. They're favourites to win competitions, but death bowling is a problem. And West Indies capitalised here. They scored 18 off the 17th over, 15 off the next, 14 off the next, 19 off the final over. And before you know it, they've gone from 113 to 4 for 179 for 4. And it's a completely different contest when you're trying to defend those numbers. And that, that deserves credit to these West Indies batters for going out and doing it. But for English bowlers, it's a little bit of the scratch of the head, Rich. I'm looking at the stats from the last year. So from the 1st of January 2021 to today, England have played 21 games. At the death, a 10.63 economy rate. That is the worst out of the major nations going around. Strike rate of 12. You might look at that and go, it's a wicket every 2 overs. That's one of the lowest around. We're so good in the middle with Akeal Rashid. We're generally pretty good up top. We've got massive flaws going on towards the end of the innings, Rich. And Chris Jordan, we've touched on him saying what a fantastic cricketer he is. A 10.96 economy rate in 16 games in the last calendar year. That's not very good. Saqib Mahmood's going at 13s towards the death. Mark Wood at 11, Sam Curran at 10, Chris Wokes at 19, and Galton at 19. There are some smaller economy rates going on in the middle of that. But why can we execute so well and then struggle towards the end? Are we just missing length? Are we just missing it out? Or is it,
It depends where they're aiming. I mean, perhaps they are aiming for the middle of the bats. I don't know. Maybe that's exactly what they're trying to bowl. Maybe it's a new tactic. It's a bit like when Harry Gurney started bowling, full tossers all over the place, as if it was like the best idea in the world, which I never quite understood. I don't know. I can't put my finger on what's going on with it. West Indies have batted very well in those situations, but England seamers in particular haven't gone well. When the spinners come in, like you say, Rashid, he's going to go for 5-ish. 5 and 6 and over, isn't he? Which is just what you want. Livingston's done pretty well. Moeen Ali's done generally well. But in this series, just the seamers in general, doesn't matter when they've been bowling. Saqib Mahmood, love him. No wickets in 3 games. Chris Jordan, 1 wicket in 4 games. 136 for his 1 wicket. 96 for no wickets in 3 games for Saqib Mahmood. George Garton did that 1 for 57, one of the worst 4 over spells for an England bowler in T20 cricket. He's a young player. Hopefully he comes again. I'm sure he will. Reece Topley, even though we've said Reece Topley's done pretty well in this series, he's gone at 7 economy rate, which is pretty good, but he's only got 3 wickets in his 4 games, 112 runs. There's no answers there. There's nobody above that. You look at the wickets for England, Rashid, Ali, Livingston, with 7, 5 and 4 apiece, and then Reece Topley with 3. It's the seamers have not done what they should have done. Yeah, they're good players. They're likable people. I'm sure, we haven't met them, but they seem like a good bunch of people. You want them to do well, all of them. But this is dreadful. This is absolutely diabolical performance from this seam attack in West Indies. Yes, West Indies have played well. They've batted well. But this isn't good enough. And I don't know. I'm not just trying to apportion blame. I don't want to say who's to blame. But what have we done? Who's organising these people? Who's telling them? Who's creating the plans? Who's the leader of the attack? Who's off the field, whether it's captain, coaches, or whatever, saying, right, this is what we want to do. This is where the strengths are. This is what we need to do. At the death, this is the plan. This is what we need to execute. I'm not seeing any joined up thinking with any of this, and the results are speaking for themselves. That's not bad luck, those seamers performance, is it?
Yeah,
that's just bad
it's
execution.
Not. I think from what I've seen of Chris Jordan, exceptional player, he is missing where he needs to be bowling a lot. And he is bowling a lot of slot deliveries. I don't like the term. It's in the slot. You can make the slot wherever you bloody want. But he's bowling a lot of things where it's neither here nor there. And batsmen have got room, they've got space, they've got the right length to be able to put their arms through it. And I'm seeing a lot of that going on. It doesn't mean everyone's the same, but what I am saying is that we can't win a World Cup in Australia if we're going at 10, 12 and over in the economy in the last few overs. I mean, here, Chris Jordan went for how many sixes? 5 sixes. Most of them towards the end of the innings. You can't just give up all that hard work because it changes the complete momentum of the game and puts you on the back foot. I feel West Indies do need a real pat on the back for going, we absorbed pressure. We played the game to our game plan. We knew we have power. We've got power towards the end. Let's have this guy. Let's have Pollard. Let's have Powell. Let's have Pooran. We want these guys going big towards the end. And they had that. And it worked to a T. And, you've just got to doff your cap a little bit and say, well done, young guys. You've outperformed a very, very good, but not full strength England team. And you were the better team.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing we have to keep remembering. This England team is not the full strength team and it's still performing at a pretty good standard and it's still taking games close. 3-2 defeat is not the end of the world. None of this is the end of the world. So let's don't misinterpret my kind of rantiness for the sky is falling. It's just really disappointing to see how we have not executed as a seam bowling attack when I expect so much more from these players. There's genuine disappointment for the likes of Saki Mahmood for me, because I want to see him progress. I want to see him starting to move up the pecking order and get himself in all formats of England cricket, because I really rate the guy. It's great to see Topley back. Jordan, I couldn't like a cricketer more than I like Chris Jordan for England. He's been just fantastic over the years, but he started showing it in the World Cup, didn't he? With the sort of the issues with the death bowling. Yeah. And it's still here. And there's some really, really big questions that the England setup need to start asking themselves before we get too far ahead and getting, as if we're building towards the World Cup. Not every game has to be a World Cup dress rehearsal. It's just a game of cricket. We don't have to look at every single. It's like not every test match is a build up towards an Ashes. We don't have to always quantify everything like this. But they need to start making some decisions with who are going to do some really vital, important roles. We can't rely on Jofra Archer, being fit and being available to go, which is what we all want. So we need to start answering some questions, especially with this bowling attack. Batting, it's just more, sort it out where people should be batting. Bowling, it's a much more fundamental question. But one thing that bowling, somebody that didn't have any problems with bowling, Rob.
Jason
We've got
Holder.
to talk about the big man. We've got to talk about the big man.
We've got to talk about
it. What a boy. Love him. Oh, my goodness. The fourth and final one is my favourite. But obviously, I've just spoilt it there, haven't I? But 4 wickets in 4 balls in the last over. I don't think England were going to get it anyway. I think what they need, was it 15 they needed, didn't they, off the last?
I thought they needed...
no, 18 off 5.
Yeah, it was on. I thought it was on, especially while Billings was at the crease. I thought
it's a big ask, though, isn't it? Getting 18.
It is, mate. So Jordan holes out, but then the next wicket, the batsman cross and Sam Billings gets out, and that's the moment where I went,
killer.
Game's probably gone here, and it was a little bit like Rabada's hat trick in the World Cup, where this end of the game, 3 catches, caught on the boundary, good bowling. Yeah. Real high release point, lots of bounce, people not executing the shots very well. Yeah. Just really solid bowling. Rashid goes, and then you're right, Saqib Mahmood at the end. No one knows that he's bowled. Like it's kind of brilliant. Like an inside edge, and the bail just kind of ticks off.
You say that, but Jason Holder turned around, hand in the air, a little bit Shearer-esque. He didn't go running off in front of the end, but just hand in the end and just walks away. Yep. He knows. That's a wicket. He's heard it. He's heard the drop. It's a wicket. And then a real delayed reaction, and suddenly the wicketkeeper comes running around, and everyone's going for it. And Mahmood's just stood there going, "Huh? What?" And there's a bail on the floor, isn't there? So I thought that was class. With the Rashid wicket, we have to say, first West Indian Jason Holder to take a hat trick in T20 International. So huge hat tip to the big guy, Jason Holder. So Jordan Billings, Rashid Mahmood, 4 in 4, game over.
Yeah, great.
That's how you bowl at the death.
Yeah, 15 wickets for Holder, mate, in the series.
Superb. Best bowler in the series.
Outstanding. An average of 9, economy rate of 7.78, a strike rate of 7. All of those things are the best in the series. And it's almost double Hosein's wickets at 8, who is the second highest wicket taker. So, you know, you talk about England trying to find slots. West Indies were trying to find a slot for an opening bowler, someone that can keep it tight, pick up a wicket here and there, can bowl well at the death. Well, Jason Holder's fulfilled all of those. Plus, he's a very, very good handy batsman to have down the order. As he's shown, he scored a 36 in one of his 2 innings in the series. So, again, just filling gaps and starting to feel like a really decent team. Sheldon Cottrell, I thought, was really good throughout this series without much luck, particularly in the power play. I always felt in those first few overs while the ball's swinging, he's probably going to get Jason Roy out. Because you can see Jason Roy likes to get his hands out, ball swinging back in. I really fancied it for him. Odean Smith, I'm going to bring him up. He's an interesting character. So he criticised being dropped and basically said he was being ostracised out of the selection. Gets a game, rapid, bowling 145, 146, 147. Huge hustle, 1 for 41 in the game. Probably the figures, and this is what happens in T20 cricket. He bowled 2 or 3 good overs, but probably 1 over too many, and then one of them gets picked up. But the ability to have someone bowling that pace, I thought, made a difference. Because when he was bowling, it's like going, when he talks, everyone listens. When he's bowling, batsmen were on edge. A little bit when Mark Wood was bowling in the Ashes. It's the extra pace and velocity, and just, you know, you're going to get one around your ribs or around your neck. It was to me, you know, 141 doesn't do it justice to the performance that he actually gave.
No, I didn't come across his comments actually, so that just slipped me by over here. It's strange, isn't it? You can understand people's frustrations because, like I said, these aren't young fellas, are they? You know, Odean Smith, he's not a 20-year-old player. You know, he's 25, getting on. He's at the point of his career where he wants to be contributing and you know, properly getting his opportunity and taking his opportunity. Whether he has done that, only he can answer that over this series. But yeah, when you've got genuine pace, it doesn't matter. Well, I was about to say it doesn't matter what you're doing with it, but yeah, it does. Mitchell Johnson, 2010-11 Ashes. It absolutely does matter what's going on with the ball because it could go everywhere. But it's still, you've still got that chance of you know, producing something absolutely miraculous, haven't you? If you're bowling 90 mile an hour plus. And England just don't quite have that. I don't think any England players really can top that at the moment, can they? They might be able to get the odd ball up there, but there's no real consistent pace with that Mark Wood, that Jofra Archer. And I'm struggling to think of anyone else. We talk of Stone a lot, don't we? But until I can see him playing without being wrapped in sticky tape and bandages, then I can't classify him. And maybe I'm being unfair because Jofra's injured as well. But Stone's just constantly injured, isn't it? Which is really disappointing for him. But yeah, it's great. It's great. This is what world cricket needs. You need the guys to put the ball out of the stadium. You need the guys to be able to bowl 90 mile an hour plus. It's exciting. It gets people really up for it. You know, it gets people off the seats, doesn't it?
Sure
so
does, mate.
It's fun. Unless you're facing it, it's fun.
Yeah. I don't think I'd fancy it, to be fair. So West Indies wrap it up 3-2. Jason Holder, player of the series, mate. No one can really argue with that. He's head and shoulders above anyone before he even bowled a ball. But it was just a world-class performance, really.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will try and argue that, but because that's just the way the world is, isn't it? So I'm sure I'd like to argue it if I could, but yeah, I can't with this one.
No, you can't. So for England, it's an interesting one because the tour almost goes on hold for a bit, and then we're going to come back in March time and play some Test match cricket, which I'm really looking forward to. In fact, you know, when we actually do the preview, I'm going to recap the team that we took there in 2019, mate. And some of the names are going to be a head scratcher because I had to look at them the other day and I was like, no way he was playing.
This could be another one of them series, though, when we look ahead. We obviously got no idea who the squad's going to be, but there could be some absolute left field picks if there's a brave England selection panel, which I doubt there will be.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Before we go, Rich, and we move on, we've got 5 good minutes coming up to finish off the podcast, which is a A much loved segment so far, said no one ever, except me, who really enjoys putting Rich on the spot with all these questions. So,
especially when I haven't been paying attention to cricket over the weekend, or as much as I should have done. Let's put it that way. Busy.
You get a list from me that basically goes right. This is what we're covering off. So here we go. 5 good minutes. Can we have the theme tune again?
5 good minutes.
Yeah,
is that it?
Yep, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Right. Go. Long-term effects of the bubble. Paul Collingwood has said long-term effects of the bubbles is scary. These guys deserve medals, not criticism. England were sitting ducks in Australia. What are your thoughts? Is cricket coming up for a bit of a comeuppance?
I think bubbles have been bad. Obviously, people have gone through a hell of a lot worse than professional cricketers living in quite nice hotels. But it's still, both things can be true. It's not mutually exclusive. Everyone's been doing it tough, to use an Australianism, but bubbles have been incredibly hard as well on players' mental health more than anything else. A lot of time to be thinking about in your high pressure cricket environment, isn't it? Top level sport. It cannot be easy for them at all. We've got to see daylight now. I've been quite a strict COVID person, but these guys, when most of societies they're playing cricket in are almost open now. You look at West Indies, everyone getting absolutely levered on the beach in the stadium. You've got to let these players go out and live a little bit now as well, especially if they're fully vaxxed and all the rest of it. Yeah, bubbles, we've got to see the end of the bubble soon, I think, and I completely understand how Collingwood saying. But that doesn't mean you can't criticise players' performances occasionally, but you've just got to put it with an asterisk and a bit of context as well.
Context is always key. Not touching on the whole squad, but Simon Harmer recalled into the South African team, Rich. 303 wickets in first-class cricket. Tried to have England hopes, but then Brexit happened and now he's back in the South African team. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, what are my thoughts? Anyone that voted for Brexit, it's your fault. We could have had an absolute leading... He was nearly qualified for England, you idiots. So, you absolute idiots. We can't go and live and work easily in Europe anymore. There's no benefit whatsoever. I'm sorry if that upsets anybody. But we could also, as a cricketing fans, we could have had Simon Harmer just about ready to be the English spinner. That would have solved our problems.
It would have solved our problem for probably many a year. England and Australia have played an absolute classic in the women's game. England chasing 257 and 245 for 9 off 48 overs. How good is this game of cricket with every result on the table going into the final over? And why aren't there any more women's tests planned at the moment?
Test cricket's amazing. Test cricket's great. Honestly, it's so good. Anyone that doesn't understand or doesn't quite appreciate or doesn't love Test cricket, I don't know what to say. Test cricket is amazing. The fact that you can still have every result on the table going into the last over of the last session of the last day in a 5-day test match is proper sport. It's bigger than any sort of film script, isn't it, sometimes, with what could happen. This one was something else, wasn't it? There's nothing better than that photo of the last ball or the last over with everyone round the bat. It's, again, good old club cricket, isn't it? When you used to, just when you're playing win-lose cricket, or the draw cricket, and everyone's round the bat at the last one. It's someone that's never stood anywhere close to a batsman or batter is under the lid, aren't they? Everyone's sniffing, getting as close as possible for that last wicket. It was fantastic. They're trying to grow the game. Just going to divert a little bit. The ladies in the 100, they're still all the first games, the preview, the warm-up games for the men. You're not growing the game by doing that. Get them on as the top billing act on some of those days. Test cricket, line more up. There is talk about an England-South Africa test match. Don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but there was talk about it. That's it. Sort it yourselves, honestly. Whether it's the players, whether it's the coaches, make some phone calls yourself. Try and schedule in some more test match cricket, because this is what we need to see. We don't need to see them in the pajamas all the time, smacking a white ball around. Red ball cricket, grow the game that way.
Grow the game. Long live Test cricket. Micky Arthur. Micky Arthur is turning up at Derbyshire to be the head coach for the upcoming season. Former South Africa, Australia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka coach. Could this be an absolute game changer for Derbyshire, who have been on the bottom end of the county championship table for many a year?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's been quite a lot of coaching changes, hasn't there? Micky Arthur, he's exceptional. He's done it all over the world, hasn't he? So why would he not be successful? And those sort of counties that the likes of Kevin Peterson and Agnew and others want to just basically get rid of. Get them strong, build them up. They make some good signs every year, but it's a tough job, isn't it? In a place like Derbyshire, it really is a tough job. But other coaches popping up as well, aren't there? You're Richard Johnson, Middlesex, he's been first team coach. Yeah. Who's the other one we've had recently? I forget his name. Was it Yorkshire? Oh, sorry, but Jonathan
Otis Gibson at Yorkshire.
Yeah, that's the one I want to talk about. That's a quality. That is a proper appointment. I think that's absolutely cracker. And also Gareth Batty, Surrey interim head coach as well. So lots of new men at the helm.
Cricket World Cup under-19s going on. One-day international cricket for those guys. Afghanistan versus England, Australia versus India in the semi-final. England going to win the competition, Rich?
Oh, I mean, it'd be great, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely great. We want a fast track towards some of these young players being good enough and having all the experience to go and play at the top level as quick as possible. And if England can go through a series, win a competition, what an amazing experience that is. What an amazing experience. So yes, it would be absolutely fantastic. I think they played only in about 3 hours from when we're recording, semi-final against Afghanistan. So again, good luck to them. I couldn't tell you who's caught my eye because I've hardly seen a thing of it. But there's some good performers so far, isn't it? Is it Tom Prest?
Yeah, Tom Prest has been class.
Yeah, second leading run scorer behind D. Brevis.
He is exceptional. He is exceptional.
I need to get caught up on some of this. I'm going to watch some highlights of this soon. I'm going to try and catch a bit of the game today, and I've got a bit of time on my hands. So, yeah, brilliant. Let's go.
Last question, Rich. We're way over 5 minutes.
Oh my God, I thought we were. This was going on forever.
Tim Bresnan, immediate retirement from the game. 142 times he's been capped by England across multi-formats, 23 test matches. Ashes winning Tim Bresnan in 2010, 11 and 2013. Big Bash winning Tim Bresnan with the Perth Scorchers, won the championship with Yorkshire, won the championship with Warwickshire this past season as captain. He said time's up on his body, mate. Thoughts on Tim Bresnan?
Yeah, he said that the head's willing, but the body is not. He's done it right way around, hasn't he? He's turned up at nets. I'm sure everyone hits that point at some point. I just don't turn up at nets until quite late these days. But he's done that thing, hasn't he? He's turned up at nets. And he's just like, I can't do what I want to do anymore.
Yeah.
He's had a little bit of a rough winter. Obviously, he was part of the fallout from the whole Yorkshire culture. It's not about individuals. The whole thing with Adil Rashid and Yorkshire, it was always about the whole culture at that county. Bresnan was part of that culture, and he's got a little bit splattered, hasn't he, by what's been going on there. So obviously, I would hope that he can work his way back a little bit reputation-wise, but as a player, fantastic. He will always be part of a love for me because he was part of that 2010-11 Ashes team. That's my England team, and he was a great part of that. It gave us some joy on Boxing Day, which if you've ever been to an MCG Boxing Day game, you'll get it, hopefully. But that's the funnest day of cricket you can possibly have, especially when you bowl Australia out from 98.
Nicely done. And that is 5 good minutes in 7 minutes and 35 seconds, Richard.
Right. We need a timer, and I've told you before, we need a buzzer.
We do need a buzzer.
That's it. Cut me off.
Yeah.
Cut me off.
No, that is what's going on around the world. And there's a hell of a lot more going on than that. There's the PSL, which has been excellent so far, and some real good English performances going on there, guys. So we're going to leave it there. We'll be back probably by the end of the week. We'll have a think about what we're going to talk about next. I know there's plenty of debate around this England test team. Maybe we could start to look at what we feel might be a really good test team for the West Indies. And wherever you're listening, guys, as always, please rate, review, subscribe. Any 5-star ratings you give with comments will be read out on the podcast. Rich, anything else?
No, all good. I think I answered everything for the next pod, didn't I? Just then, you gave me everything.
I have given you everything.
Pressure.
We're giving you everything, and we'll see you guys next time.